After Anna was dumped by her crush, I seized the opportunity for a night of madness. She forced me to take responsibility for it and made me sign a 3-year boyfriend contract. So, I diligently played the role of her devoted simp boyfriend for 3 years. However, later on, when her best friend asked her, "You've been with George for 3 years, when are you getting married?" she replied, "George is just a stand-in for Makoto. He's not my type at all. Once Makoto comes back, I'll dump him immediately." What she never imagined, though, was that I had my own crush. The day the stand-in contract expired, Willow returned to the country. Anna's eyes were red from crying. She said, "George, don't tell me that after 3 years, you've never had feelings for me," I replied. "You were just Willow's stand-in, not my type at all." Chapter 1. Anna came back in the early hours of the morning, reeking of an almost inescapable cigarette smell. It was very much in line with Makoto's playboy nature, but I didn't mind, and I directly took Anna into the bathroom. She had been drinking, her desires heightened, and her delicate, smooth arms, like lotus stems, wrapped around my neck, her breath soft and fragrant, with the beauty in my arms. I wasn't one to claim sainthood, so I played along, half pushing and half allowing her teasing. We kept at it until 3 a.m. When I carried Anna out of the bathroom again, she was so drained she could barely move a finger. The alcohol had worn off a lot. She buried her face in my chest, her forehead against my shoulder, breathing in the scent of the shower gel we both used. Though she was so tired she could hardly keep her eyes open. Anna still asked in a sweet voice, "You have work tomorrow, aren't you tired?" I answered, "I'm not tired." In truth, I was exhausted too. I loosely held Anna in my arms, closed my eyes, and added, "I'll rest at noon." From the first day I was with Anna, I knew I was a stand-in, replacing Anna's unrequited love, Makoto. But I'm the type of person who takes things seriously. I signed the contract, so I faithfully carried out all of Anna's demands. For 3 years, no matter how busy I was, I'd still make Anna breakfast, drive her to work, and on holidays, I'd take her to places she wanted to visit. I handled everything from itinerary planning to food, lodging, and entertainment, leaving her with nothing to worry about. When Anna was tired, I carried her. When she was hungry, I cooked for her. I even organized Anna's wardrobe. Anna loved to tease me, saying, "George, you're so good to me. Sometimes I forget why I'm even with you. I just want to be with you forever." Anna was probably very pleased with my performance tonight. She tilted her face to kiss my chin, then sweetly said, "Tomorrow, you can sleep in. I'll make breakfast." Somehow, though, she wasn't tired anymore and kept talking. "By the way, we've been together for 3 years now, and I've never met your parents. For this new year, I'll come with you to your family. What should we bring for your parents?" I suddenly opened my eyes, completely awake. I said, "Anna." Anna didn't notice anything was wrong, laughing as she said, "You were calling me sweetheart just now, and now you're calling me by my name. Huh." Her voice was playful, filled with a satisfied smile and a deep, genuine affection. Anna seemed to have forgotten that it was she who insisted I call her a baby. Not only that, but all our WeChat and phone contacts were saved as a baby, and they had to be pinned. I didn't respond to her playful teasing. In a calm voice, I said, "Anna, our contract, it ends in a week." Anna froze, looking at me as if she didn't understand what I meant. I got up from the bed, put on a bathrobe, and found my glasses from the nightstand. I didn't say a word while doing this, but my actions were cold and unfamiliar to Anna, incredibly serious and calm. Under the dim light next to the bed, Anna's face turned pale as she probably realized what I meant. She clutched the blanket and sat up, her voice full of disbelief, mixed with the usual accusatory tone. "George, what do you mean? You want to break up with me?" In the 3 years we'd been together, whenever I did something Anna didn't like, she'd immediately confront me. But I've always been self-aware. As the second party in the contract, I followed the first party's requirements, doing my best to be Anna's perfect stand-in boyfriend. I looked at the goosebumps on Anna's bare shoulder and raised the air conditioning temperature for her. My voice was hoarse, but firm as I said, "Anna, we were never really together. How could we talk about breaking up?" This statement completely enraged Anna, who was already spoiled and used to getting her way. She jumped out of bed, not even bothering to put on slippers, and started throwing my things at me. With wild emotion, she shouted, "We've been sleeping in the same bed for 3 years, and just now, you slept with me, and now you tell me we were never together. George, you're unbelievable." I stood still, letting Anna vent. As she threw things around, she realized there was very little that belonged to me in this shared home. It was almost as if this place was just a pit stop for me. This realization made Anna even more furious, her fingers trembling with rage. Her anger almost overwhelmed her sense of reason as she screamed with a sob, "Since that's the case, forget the last 7 days. I can't be with a man like you. Get out now." I sighed. Then silently began packing. The contract did indeed state that Anna, as the employer, could terminate it at any time without conditions, and I wasn't allowed to beg her to stay. Anna seemed to have forgotten that, although this apartment was in her name, I was the one paying for the down payment and every monthly installment, but I wasn't going to argue with her about the house at this moment. Seeing me so decisive, Anna, who had always been used to me complying with her every whim, suddenly burst into tears. She sobbed, "George, if you're willing to apologize for what you just said and promise you'll never say anything like that again, I'll pretend I never heard it and forgive you. Our relationship will stay the same as before." However, I had no intention of salvaging the situation. Though my belongings weren't many, they wouldn't all fit into one suitcase. I packed only a change of clothes, important documents, and my laptop. The suitcase snapped shut with a loud thud. In the quiet of the night, the sound seemed particularly sharp. I stood up straight and said, "When it's convenient for you, send me a message. I'll come back to collect the rest of my things." Anna stood barefoot in the middle of the room, lips pressed tight, saying nothing. I turned and dragged my suitcase out the door, but then, Anna suddenly rushed over, throwing herself at me from behind, wrapping her arms tightly around me, her cheek pressed against my back as she sobbed and pleaded, "George, don't go. Please don't go." Chapter 2. I remained expressionless, not saying a word. Anna's body trembled slightly from her sobs. Tears streamed down, soaking the back of my shirt. She cried out, "You can't leave. Our contract isn't over yet." The mention of the contract seemed to trigger something in her, and she became more assertive. She said, "Yes, you can't leave. It's in the contract. You don't have the right to terminate it unilaterally. You can't leave." Since Anna had brought up the contract, I had nothing more to say. After all, the unequal terms of the contract were very clear. As the second party, I was never allowed to terminate the contract first. 3 years ago, Anna's longtime crush, Makoto, had rejected her confession when she sent him off at the airport. She had been left heartbroken and lonely, drowning her sorrows in one drink after another at a bar. I happened to be there that day, also trying to drown my own troubles in alcohol. The burning sensation of the liquor made reason gradually fade away. Our eyes met, and suddenly, Anna, crying, threw herself into my arms, saying, "Your eyes, they're like his." Desire spread in the haze of drunkenness. I don't know who made the first move. We embraced, kissed, seeking solace in each other. When we woke up the next morning, the alcohol had worn off, and our rationality returned. Anna stared into my eyes for a long time, biting her lip before speaking. "What happened last night can't be forgotten. You took my first time, and you have to take responsibility." I didn't give a direct answer, only nodding, though I was sure I wasn't the one who made the first move. In the end, I was the man, and in this situation, I was at fault. Anna said, "I'll draft a stand-in contract for you to sign. 3 years. For 3 years, you'll be my boyfriend." Seeing me stunned, not fully understanding what she meant, Anna sneered and explained, "Don't worry, I won't cling to you, and I won't fall in love with you. I still have a crush. In 3 years, he'll come back after his studies. Then, we'll part ways. Don't go around pestering me." So, for 3 years, I faithfully upheld this contract, becoming Anna's perfect, obedient stand-in boyfriend. I never had feelings for her, but now, with only a week left until the contract expired, my crush had returned just as expected. Yet, it was Anna who was the one unwilling to let go. I sighed. With resignation, I turned, pulling her into my arms, gently soothing. Okay, stop crying. It's late. We won't argue anymore. I'll help you sleep." Anna had drunk alcohol, and after an intense night, then a big argument and crying, her energy was completely drained. She soon fell asleep. I got up, gently closed the door, and left, not wanting to drive while tired. I ended up sleeping in the car for the night. The next morning, I drove to a hotel across from the company to freshen up, then went to work on time. Although I barely slept last night, I was still young, and there was no trace of exhaustion on my face in the mirror. As soon as I entered the office, someone said, "Hey, Mr. Wong, how come you're eating breakfast at the office? Is your girlfriend not at home?" I looked up to see David, a senior who had co-founded this tech company with me when we graduated. I replied, "We're breaking up." David nearly spat out the bite of pancake he had just taken, but under the pressure of my gaze, he didn't dare to spit it out and turned away, coughing violently. After finally swallowing with a gulp of soy milk, David hurriedly asked, "What happened? When did this happen? I thought you two were doing great. Last month, when we were on a business trip, you were calling back home across a 12-hour time difference, saying good morning and good night without missing a beat. You even bought luxury goods at the duty-free store without blinking. If I were a woman, I'd marry you in a heartbeat." I thought for a moment before answering only one question. "It happened early this morning." David, unable to contain his curiosity, asked for the details. Did you break up with her? Or did Anna do it? I replied, both. But I guess it was mostly her decision. Not giving David more time to pry, I quickly finished breakfast and prepared to get back to work. David, however, was relentless and followed me into the office. He asked, "So, where are you living now? I remember you were the one paying the mortgage for that place. And you mentioned you had paid it off early this year. With that location, it must be worth at least $5 million. Right, you haven't even married. So how are you splitting the property?" I said, "I'm going to look at apartments after work this week. I'll make a decision within the week." There was no one else in the office, so I felt it was fine to talk about it. David, upon hearing me mention property division, sighed. "George, Mr. Wong, you're walking away with nothing. Now that's some guts. However, that's a significant amount of money. You don't want the money, but are you still thinking about her? Honestly, you two have managed to stay together this long, which isn't easy. If you still care, you should go and make up with her." I replied calmly, my voice detached. "It's not what you think. The breakup is already a done deal. Anything else is private." David, go back to work. Chapter 3. It's no wonder David was curious. If it were anyone else, a breakup would be just that, a breakup, and on to the next better thing. But I'm not like that. I've been incredibly disciplined since school, and when it comes to my partner, I'm even more considerate. As an entrepreneur in the tech industry, I always make sure to be home on time when work ends. When I'm on business trips, I make sure to greet Anna, no matter the 12-hour time difference. On holidays, even the foreign ones, I'd always give her a special romantic gesture. For 3 years, my life has revolved around work and Anna, and most of the time, Anna was more important than work. Once, David saw my computer screen in the office paused on a recipe, and he even made notes. David joked, "If I learned your tricks, there wouldn't be a woman I couldn't win over." Honestly, I've wondered too. I'm worth millions, look decent, always prioritize my girlfriend, generous in everything, and never fool around. Why can't Anna forget about Makoto? Even when he returned to his home country, she immediately threw herself into his arms. It was almost time to get off work when Anna did something unprecedented. She came to pick me up at the office. She handed out the desserts she had brought to my colleagues, and amidst their envious and flattering comments, she closed the office door. She sat down in my lap, tugging at my collar to pull me closer. She said, "Let me see, did you miss me today?" Her breath was sweet, and she lightly nibbled at my earlobe, her voice seductive. But the once intimate teasing that used to make my blood rush now felt uncomfortable and repellent, tainted by the unfamiliar smell of smoke on her clothes. I tried to pull away from Anna's kiss. In the struggle, a red mark on her collarbone was exposed. I knew for sure that I never had a habit of leaving marks on her. As an adult male, I knew exactly what this fresh mark signified. A wave of disgust surged within me, mixed with a tinge of heartache, spreading through my body. Anna asked, "What's wrong, honey? Do you feel unwell?" Seeing my bad expression, Anna panicked. When I didn't respond, she anxiously ran her hands over me. At that moment, I felt a bit of irony. I didn't know if I should remind her to cover up the love bite or tear apart her mask of false affection. I replied, "It's nothing. Maybe I just caught a chill." I chose to brush it off. After all, there were only 6 days left, and everything between us should be over soon. Anna kissed my forehead in a comforting gesture, muttering, "You really should take better care of yourself. How would you survive without me?" I smiled but didn't argue. We both knew the truth. For the past 3 years, I had been the one taking care of everything in our lives. Anna had come from a wealthy family and never worked a 9-to-5 job after graduation. She started her own design studio. She was innocent and romantic, and of course, wouldn't lift a finger to make dinner for her partner. At night, Anna, as usual, curled up in my arms while scrolling through her phone. By accident, she opened a voice message. Makoto's voice came through the phone clearly. He said, "Baby, your body is like the most precious piece of art, so beautiful it keeps me awake. Every day from now on, I want to have you just like today, with you by my side. The air is sweet. Good night, baby. Kiss you." Anna quickly covered the phone. She turned and awkwardly smiled at me, explaining, "I was just watching a short drama." I didn't react much, pretending to believe her, nodding and saying, "What kind of script is this? It's so cheesy it makes my teeth hurt." Anna awkwardly agreed and claimed her stomach hurt, then hurried to the bathroom in the living room. It wasn't until an hour later, when I went to the kitchen for water, that I could hear Anna on the other side of the door flirting with someone on the phone. Her teasing voice came through, saying, "I'm the same. After we broke up, you're all I think about. The bed in this hotel isn't soft enough. How about we try another one next time? Do you want to come to my place?" "Sure, but it's a bit messy here. Let me tidy up before you come over." "How do you know George?" "He's just a friend of mine. At most a stand-in for you." "Why would I care if he finds out? You always know how to sweet talk." "Are you like this with every woman?" I've been waiting for you all these years, thinking about you all the time. Do you think I've fallen under your spell, even though I had known from the start that I was just a stand-in?" The sound of her flirtatious laughter still pierced through me like a sharp thorn. As I stood there in a daze, a notification popped up on my phone. It was from Willow, someone I thought I would never see again, who had moved overseas with her family after college. The message read, "George, I'm coming back to the country. Would you come pick me up?" The flight landing date was perfectly timed with the day the contract with Anna would expire. "Anna, it's time for our fake relationship to end." Chapter 4. That night, I didn't sleep well, waking up drenched in sticky sweat. As dawn approached, Anna woke me up. Half asleep, I mumbled and pushed her away, but she didn't seem to mind my sweaty body at all and leaned in to kiss my lips. All sleepiness vanished in an instant. I almost instinctively wanted to push her away but held back. I said, "I haven't brushed my teeth yet." I turned my head away, trying to control myself. Fortunately, Anna's lips didn't linger and quickly pulled away. She said, "Why, I won't mind you. Finally woke you up." I thought I was holding a little furnace. I frowned and asked, "What?" Anna pulled me out of bed and said, "Don't you know you're running a fever? Get up, I'll take you to the hospital." I figured I must have caught a chill after spending the night in the car, although I didn't think it was a big issue. I was used to the habit of letting Anna take charge, so I reluctantly got up, freshened up, and went with her to the hospital. At the emergency room, we ran into Makoto. He seemed a bit unwell as well, looking pale. The serene expression Anna had earlier suddenly turned anxious. She immediately let go of my hand and rushed to Makoto, grabbing his arm, and asked nervously, "Makoto, what happened? Why are you at the hospital?" Makoto smiled at her, his gaze passing over her and meeting mine. He said, "I just got back to the country, a bit of jet lag." "Who's this?" Anna froze for a moment, then glanced at me before awkwardly explaining. "He's a friend of mine, not feeling well, so I'm accompanying him to get checked." I realized then that Anna didn't want Makoto to know the truth about our relationship. Makoto nodded and pointed towards the consultation rooms, saying, "Well, I won't delay you guys. I'll go get checked." His expression seemed a bit forlorn as he prepared to leave alone. As Makoto started to walk away, Anna, without thinking, stepped forward and helped the weakened Makoto lean on her. She turned to me and said, "Makoto's unfamiliar with the area. I'm worried about him. You go ahead and get checked by yourself." I asked coldly, "Aren't you coming with me?" Anna instinctively pulled away from me, frowning and saying, "George, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say you were feeling better on the way here?" I leaned against the wall, expressionless, not responding. Anna was now completely focused on Makoto, not paying attention to me. After saying that, she walked with him towards another consultation room. I smirked bitterly. The woman who had been so attentive just moments ago was now rushing to another man without a second glance. Should I admire her devotion, or laugh at her hypocrisy? I shook my head and walked towards my own consultation room. The nurse took my temperature, and it spiked to 40 degrees Celsius. It seemed like the busy work schedule had lowered my immunity, and I had caught the flu, needing treatment. I instinctively called Anna. After 2 calls, I realized she had hung up on me. Only then did I realize how pitiful I was, trying to reach her. Habits are the scariest things. I put my phone away, went to queue for my medication, then went to the treatment room. During the drip, I felt worse, and before long, I had dozed off. Only when the family member from the nearby bed noticed and called the nurse did I wake up. 2 whole hours passed without a single call or message from Anna. When I finally dragged my aching body to the parking lot, I realized that even my car had been taken by Anna using the spare key she kept at her place. I called Anna again. This time, she picked up, and when she heard I was still at the hospital, she seemed taken aback. She said, "Sorry, George. I was going to come back to pick you up after taking Makoto home, but he suddenly had an allergic reaction, so I'm taking him to a nearby hospital." Before she could finish, the sound of the car's navigation system chimed in. "You have arrived at your destination, Shangri-La Hotel underground parking." Even though Anna quickly turned off the navigation, I still heard it clearly. I said, "It's fine. I'll just take a taxi." I hung up, and Anna sent a message, "George, go home first. I'll explain everything later." I sneered. What's there to explain? We never had a relationship that needed explanations, but I still called a taxi to the hotel. It wasn't that I wanted to catch them in the act. By this point, despite myself, I still couldn't shake off the possessiveness that was deeply ingrained in me. But I truly didn't care about Anna and Makoto's sordid matters. What I didn't want was for Anna to create trouble or even turn things around against me when the contract expired. I found my car in the underground parking lot. When I opened the door, the lingering scent of intimacy hit me. Every man would recognize that smell. On the passenger side, a pair of ripped black stockings lay on the floor mats, and used protection was casually hung on the center console. Expressionless, I turned on the dashcam. The footage showed that after they got in the car, Makoto asked, "What do you want to eat?" Anna's voice, soft and sweet, replied, "I want to eat you, brother." Makoto responded, "Little greedy cat. I heard the bed at Shangri-La is really soft. Want to give it a try?" Anna chuckled. "Aren't you sick? Don't you have jet lag?" Makoto replied, "Not sick. You'll find out if you try." Then came the rustling sounds, followed by Anna's soft moans. Anna, in broken breaths, said, "Drive carefully." Makoto laughed. "You look so good. If I could still focus on driving, I'd have to go see a urologist," Anna teased. "Stop it. Find a place to stop." Makoto didn't respond. Soon, the car came to a stop. A light click sounded as his belt buckle came undone. Then came the suggestive sounds of sucking. I could tell from the sound that Anna's stockings were being violently torn off, followed by the sounds of her delicate fingers tearing open the package of protection. The air was filled with heavy, lustful breaths. Makoto sighed in satisfaction. "Anna, you're really beautiful." I calmly saved the audio to my phone, lit a cigarette in the car, and sat there for a while. After doing all that, I locked the car, got out, and called another taxi to leave. Chapter 5. When Anna came home that evening, she immediately began explaining to me. Alicia had another fight with her boyfriend, and I got dragged in as a mediator. Alicia was Anna's best friend, and her boyfriend was a bit of a mess. I replied indifferently, "Did they make up?" Anna hugged me and coquettishly said, "Sort of. At least my boyfriend's better. He always lets me have my way. Never argues with me." I gave a noncommittal smile and looked coolly at Anna's bare legs beneath her skirt, noticing that she wasn't wearing stockings. Seeing this, Anna awkwardly smiled and quickly offered an excuse. "I accidentally scraped my leg when I got out of the car, so I just took them off and threw them away." I didn't respond. Instead, I brought my tablet closer to her face. I said, "David wants to change cars and asked me for advice. He said he wants a bigger interior, preferably something suitable for, you know." I smiled with a bit of playful mischief on my face. I continued, "Baby, what do you think? Which one would be best?" Anna's cheeks instantly turned red. Her eyes darted around nervously, and she forced a smile. "You men in your cars, I wouldn't know. Ugh, I'm so tired, hubby. I'm going to take a shower now." With that, Anna kissed my cheek and went straight into the bathroom to remove her makeup and wash up. I wiped my lips with a look of disgust and glanced toward the bathroom door, probably afraid I would suspect something. Anna didn't lock the door. When the sound of water from the shower started, I stood up and opened the bathroom door. Walking in, the next second, Anna screamed, crossing her arms over her chest to cover herself. I said, "What are you so shy about? It's not like you've never been seen before." I mocked coldly, not missing the obvious marks on Anna's chest. I paused for a moment before adding, "I haven't showered yet. Want to join me?" Anna, flustered, quickly grabbed a bathrobe and wrapped her body tightly. She forced a smile and said, "I've already showered. You go ahead." Anna almost fled the room in panic. I picked up the pair of panties Anna had taken off by the sink. The water stains were still visible. I sneered. She couldn't even clean up after herself after cheating. When I finished showering and returned to the bed, Anna had changed into a conservative nightgown that covered her from head to toe. She was curled up at the edge of the bed, pretending to be asleep. I found it amusing. Though I didn't have any particular feelings about losing my virginity, I did have some cleanliness issues in this regard. Anna's worries were really unnecessary. In the silence, my phone suddenly rang. I glanced at the unfamiliar number and quietly went out to the balcony to answer. The voice on the other end said, "George, it's Makoto." We didn't get a chance to properly introduce ourselves earlier. Even though Makoto was Anna's crush, and still the third party in this complicated love triangle, he wasn't ashamed of it at all. Instead, he directly called to assert his claim. I responded, "Nice to meet you." My tone calm and unaffected. He said, "George, we're both men. Don't play innocent. I know about you and Anna, and I also know you've figured out that she and I are together. How does it feel?" The marks I left on her body, exciting, right? Anna told me with her own mouth that I'm the only man she's ever truly loved. Why are you still clinging to her? She's disgusted by you now. Makoto spoke with arrogance, but there was an edge of frustration in his voice. I sarcastically replied, "Look at you, so eager to claim her. I almost feel sorry for you. As long as Anna wants, we can end this anytime. You think you got lucky, but honestly, I've long since lost interest." Makoto didn't get the reaction he wanted from me and angrily hung up. Only 5 days remained until the contract expired. In the days that followed, Anna almost every night came up with an excuse to stay out late or not come home at all. When Anna didn't return home, I had no reason to go back early either, but I still kept my usual routine and left at 5:30 p.m. sharp. Part of it was habit. The other part was that I was seriously busy looking for a new place. I needed a house close to the office, with a reasonable layout, at least 100 square meters. Such a place would cost over 10 million. The house I bought for Anna, though I only paid 6 million at the time, had already appreciated by 2 million over the past 2 years, though my wealth had increased significantly. Most of it was tied up in company shares. The house I bought for Anna, to make up for the mistake I made 2 years ago when I had drunkenly taken advantage of her, was just a token of compensation. I paid off the mortgage earlier this year, so I didn't have much cash on hand. Particularly, I still needed to buy a house near Willow's family for future meetings. After several days of house hunting after work, I finally settled on a newly renovated apartment. The property and environment were great. I paid for it in full with all my liquid assets, and soon received the keys, ready to move in. This day happened to be the day before the contract with Anna was set to expire. Chapter 6. The last day. I saved today's work on my computer, and go with the flow. I opened WeChat. I clicked on the pinned conversation and typed, "Baby, do you want to have dinner together tonight?" The message from the conversation titled, "Baby," quickly showed that the other party was typing. I didn't wait for her to finish and continued typing. "We have a new dessert shop downstairs at the office. How about some cake?" As expected, she replied almost immediately with a voice message. The background noise was a bit loud, but Anna's voice was still clear. She laughed loudly and said, "I want strawberry cake. Alicia just grabbed my phone. They came over to our place, and we're having hot pot tonight. How about it?" I typed back, "Sure, the usual place. I'll make a reservation." Anna responded, "You decide, but only one cake allowed. They said I'm too much of a drama queen to deserve you, so they're not getting any cake." In the background, I could hear Alicia teasing. "I didn't say that. I just said that guys like George are too hard to find. How come heaven didn't bless me with one?" Anna glanced at her through the rearview mirror, looking proud and haughty like a peacock spreading its feathers. She smiled triumphantly. "Take a nap, dream, and you can have everything in the dream." After dinner, I went to pay the bill. When I returned, I overheard the three of them talking by the door of the private room. Alicia said, "Makoto's back. What about your stand-in, Mr. Handsome?" Anna chuckled lightly and replied, "Don't talk about it in front of him. He still doesn't know." Someone else teased, "Alicia, you're such a fool. Makoto's back. Who needs a stand-in?" Alicia said, "It's still Anna. George is that rich and handsome, and he's got her wrapped around his finger. In my opinion, Makoto was so cold when he left. It serves him right that you found a stand-in to piss him off. However, Anna, George treats you so well, and he's making millions a year. No other woman can compete. Are you really willing to let go?" Anna seemed to sigh and said, "Of course, I don't want to let go. I've been struggling with it. He's so caring, and he spends money on me without hesitation." Alicia suddenly whispered, lowering her voice mysteriously, "Anna, George is tall, his nose is sharp, and, is he good in bed? Maybe you should consider East meets West." I didn't want to hear the three of them gossiping about me, so I pushed the door open and walked in. Anna smiled and immediately got up to greet me, snuggling into my arms. She said, "Hubby, we want to go sing karaoke tonight. Can you pay for it? Girls' time. No boys allowed." I naturally agreed. Anna, not hesitating at all, stood on tiptoe and kissed me in front of her friends, who cheered her on, her slender fingers intertwined with mine, tender and lingering. For a moment, it almost gave me the illusion that we could grow old together, but I knew very well that tonight wasn't about girls' time. She was setting up a gathering to welcome Makoto back. That night, I was working in my study when I received a video from Makoto. He said, "Bro, Anna's mine now." The video was from a gathering, showing Anna in the sexy clothes I had bought for her. She was in Makoto's arms, passionately kissing him. In the background, Alicia's voice could be heard cheering, "The main guy beats the stand-in." I didn't reply to Makoto. I opened Anna's secret account homepage. She thought I didn't know, but breaking into these things was child's play for a programmer like me. Her secret account posted, "Mr. Ito, I've finally been waiting for you." The photo was of her and Makoto, their hands tightly intertwined, just like how she had wrapped her fingers around mine earlier. Makoto replied underneath, "After all this time, it's still you." Anna's comment section was filled with many of our mutual friends, all sending their heartfelt blessings. They all thought they could hide it from me. I closed my phone with a blank expression, like I was watching someone else's drama, and went back to work. Tomorrow, my 3-year-long contract with Anna would finally end. I was definitely leaving, but this had nothing to do with Anna's capricious nature or the return of her crush. It was simply because I knew my place as a stand-in. We'd agreed on the outcome when we first started, and now that the real deal was back, it was time for the stand-in to exit. Chapter 7. That night, Anna naturally didn't come home, but this time, she didn't even bother to come up with a half-hearted lie. The next morning, I packed up all my things and had arranged for the moving company online. Before leaving, I placed the now meaningless contract on Anna's vanity table. I deleted the fingerprint lock on the door and cleared all the digital passwords. On the day the contract between Anna and I was set to end, I officially moved into my new home. I did a quick bit of tidying up and then headed back to the office in the afternoon to handle work, planning to go to the airport later to pick up Willow. When David and a few of my friends heard I had moved into a new place, they insisted on throwing me a housewarming party. A few of the guys brought beer and snacks, and without needing me to guide them, they just used the temporary password and let themselves in. David mumbled, "Hurry up and go pick up Willow. We haven't seen her in years. I wonder if the junior still remembers her senior." Another one laughed and scolded, "Ha, what's the use in her remembering you? As long as she remembers George." Those two were all over each other in college, just a thin layer of glass separating them. If Willow hadn't graduated and moved overseas with her family, they'd probably have kids by now. Yeah, bring Willow back. We were all in the same college club, close friends, with old friends by my side and my crush back in the country. The slight displeasure Anna had caused me earlier that day evaporated. I smiled slightly and said, "I'll ask Willow if she's coming. Just be careful not to scare her off with all your help." David said, "Don't worry, when I get Willow, I'll call you. I'll order takeout." As a single guy, David's first choice was naturally takeout. He didn't realize that, unlike him, I wasn't living the same bachelor life anymore. I picked up my phone, scrolling through the delivery app while asking, "What do you want to eat?" "I'll order ingredients first. I'll cook dinner." With Anna's character, maybe 1 or 2 days of takeout would be tolerable, but if she had to eat it for 3 years, she'd probably get angry every day. That's how my cooking skills were developed. The airport was bustling with people. I spotted the figure I had been yearning for at a glance, my heart racing. Willow was pulling her suitcase, walking briskly, her eyes scanning the crowd with urgency. The moment our eyes met, hers lit up and she immediately rushed towards me. After 5 years abroad, Willow seemed to have matured a lot, but the smile in her eyes was still that of a bright, 20-something girl. "Long time no see," I said, stepping forward, my voice trembling slightly. Willow held back from throwing herself into my arms. Her voice was choked, and she said, "I'm back, George. No matter how great the outside world is, my heart has always been here. I'll never leave again." I gently brushed the hair from her ear and said, "Let's go. David and the others are waiting for us." Willow nodded enthusiastically, her face blooming with a smile as warm as the spring sun. Back at the house, the lights were bright, and my friends had been waiting for a while. Cheers rang out as I walked in. I went to the kitchen and said, "You all talk first. I'll cook." Willow briefly greeted the others and followed me in. Leaning against the door, she asked quietly, "Do you need help?" I smiled and said, "No need. Just wait for the feast. This is for your welcome home dinner." My phone, which I had left on the living room table, started ringing. The caller was a number with no contact information. These days, unknown numbers were usually spam calls, and Willow naturally thought the same. She picked up the phone and peeked into the kitchen, saying, "George, looks like a scam call." The noise from the kitchen's exhaust fan was loud, and I didn't pay much attention, just responding absent-mindedly. "The chili's in the pan. Don't get choked. Could you answer it for me?" Willow answered the call, but before she could say anything, the person on the other end immediately started yelling, "George, what's going on? Why did you move everything out?" Anna had spent an entire day and night away from home. When she opened the door, she found that everything related to me was gone. The contract that had already expired was still sitting on the vanity. Thinking about how I had left without saying a word made her even more upset. She clenched her teeth and shouted into the phone, "Don't even think about coming back." Willow, confused, awkwardly said, George is cooking. Should I have him call you back?" The person on the other end, hearing a woman's voice, seemed to pause for a moment before abruptly hanging up. Willow, with her usual bluntness, sensed that the woman on the phone had a significant presence. She bit her lip and quickly opened the kitchen door to call me. The call you asked me to answer was from a girl, and she sounded really upset." Even Willow, who wasn't very perceptive, could tell there was some unfinished business between me and Anna. Her gaze flickered a bit, and she handed me the phone, saying, "I'll serve the food. You should return the call." I didn't hesitate. I took the phone and stepped outside. It wasn't that I was still putting up with Anna's temper. I just believed that if we were parting ways, it should be clean and decisive. If I didn't clear up the misunderstanding now, it could only get worse. I stood on the balcony and dialed Anna's number. Even though I had deliberately deleted the contact, I had called this number countless times over the past 3 years, so I knew it by heart. "Anna." There was no response on the other end. About a minute passed before Anna's voice, tearful and choked, came through. "George, aren't you going to explain what happened just now?" Though her voice was filled with emotion, it still carried the usual questioning tone, but by now, I had become immune to it. I said, "Anna, this is my personal life. It has nothing to do with you." Chapter 8. When I first got together with Anna, I was quite unaccustomed to her spoiled and domineering behavior. However, over the past 3 years, I had learned a variety of skills in dealing with Anna's temper and princess attitude. For example, I became good at cooking and comforting her, gradually becoming the perfect substitute for her crush in her eyes. The old me would have never responded to Anna with a formulaic phrase like, "This is my personal business." Indeed, that sentence completely enraged Anna, and her voice immediately rose by 2 levels. She said, "You blocked me on WeChat, and now you're with another woman," deliberately letting her answer my calls. "George, you broke up with me because of her, didn't you? All this talk about the contract ending is just an excuse. George, you've fallen for someone else, you scumbag. I gave you all my firsts, and you're just going to abandon me like this. How could you? How could you cook for another woman?" The few friends in the living room, through the glass door of the balcony, could clearly see the hint of real impatience in my usually calm eyes. I said, "Anna, we're over. We're no longer in a relationship where personal matters are something we discuss. Please show some self-respect." Anna froze. She had never expected that after the contract ended, my attitude would be so distant when we spoke again. The use of "please" in my voice was completely formal, as if I were addressing a passerby in life, polite but cold, because it no longer mattered. She responded, "George, is that how you're going to talk to me? I shared a bed with you for 3 years. I was the woman closest to you. And now you're telling me that we're not in a relationship where we can talk about personal matters, even if we started out with a contract. It's been 3 years. You can't be this heartless with me, can you?" My voice remained as calm as ever as I said, "Anna, stop dwelling on this. What exactly do you want to say?" My attitude clearly told Anna that I had no lingering feelings for our 3-year relationship. Anna sniffled and said, "George, how can you walk away so easily? Don't tell me that after these 3 years, you never had any feelings for me." Though Anna spoke with these questions, she was certain of the answer. After 3 years of living together, surely something had to have developed, right? But without hesitation, I answered, "Sorry Anna, you're not my type." Anna couldn't accept it. She felt that her self-esteem had been severely damaged. But as she looked at the half-empty wardrobe and remembered the soft voice of the woman on the phone earlier, a strong sense of crisis suddenly washed over her. She was willing to lower herself, act cute, and beg me to come back. She said, "Hubby, is this because of the contract substitute? Are you still mad about that? I can explain. I haven't seen that senior in a long time. He was just someone I had a crush on as a teenager. The person I like now is you. As long as you're willing to come back and apologize sincerely, I can forgive you and we can continue to be together." Spoiled women often think they can simply bat their eyelashes, apologize, and expect everything to return to how it was. I couldn't help but let out a sarcastic laugh. I said, "Anna, I think you've misunderstood. I have no intention of continuing any relationship with you, now or in the future. As you can see, I'm ready to seriously develop something with someone else. Please stop interfering in my life." Anna was stunned by my words. She finally realized that I was truly determined to sever all ties with her. She couldn't control her emotions and broke down in hysterical tears, accusing me of being a heartless man. She angrily shouted, "George, how could you do this to me? What did I, Anna, ever do wrong to you? While I was dreaming every day of spending the rest of my life with you, you're telling me I was the only one in love the whole time. Fine, George, so you really hate me now. Since that's the case, let's break up completely. I, Anna, won't die without you. We'll see." However, the harsh words she threw didn't receive a single denial or explanation from me. I simply said, "Fine, goodbye," and I hung up the phone. Anna couldn't accept that I really had the nerve to leave her behind. She was a little stunned. In the past, she had always enjoyed my gentleness and patience toward her. When she saw the boundaries I set with others, Anna would secretly feel pleased. But when she found herself excluded, she finally realized that the men she had spent the last 3 years with was, in fact, so indifferent. She carefully recalled all the moments she had shared with me over the past 3 years. We had almost never fought. No matter how unreasonable her requests, I would agree and indulge her without limits. Anna remembered once when I had made her angry, and she blocked me. At that time, I immediately went to her studio, brought flowers and gifts, and apologized in person. That day, Anna felt extremely satisfied. She relished the feeling of being cherished, being the first in my heart. But now, I had actively hung up on her. Anna took a deep breath, gritted her teeth, and uncontrollably threw the cup in her hand hard against the wall. Chapter 9. When Willow saw me hang up the phone and walk into the dining room, she lowered her gaze and didn't speak. I looked relaxed, picked up my cup, held it to my lips, and asked softly, "Why aren't you eating?" She replied, "I wanted to wait for you." After a couple of bites, Willow put her chopsticks down, unable to hold back her thoughts. She asked, "So, this is the girlfriend they were talking about, The one you've been protecting like a treasure. I didn't answer directly. As a man, I wasn't the type to badmouth an ex after breaking up, so I just said, "We're not together anymore." Seeing my expression didn't change, Willow continued, "When I first found out you had a girlfriend, I secretly wondered what kind of girl could make our Wang the academic star fall so hard. I thought she'd be gentle and virtuous, maybe sweet and cute. Never imagined she'd be the kind of spoiled, temperamental girl." I leaned back in my chair casually, watching Willow analyze the situation with a hint of jealousy, which I found a bit amusing. She said, "So you like this kind of girl? She must be really pretty, right? A lively personality, and probably the family is noisy. A little bit of arguing every day might even be fresh and exciting." I couldn't help but laugh aloud. I reached out and affectionately ruffled Willow's hair, saying, "Willow, things between Anna and I aren't what you think. I'll explain to you later. We're already over. There's absolutely no chance of getting back together. Don't worry about her. Eat your meal." Willow blushed, embarrassed. David, trying to lighten the mood, said, Right. No more talk about exes. There's always someone better." David chimed in, teasing, "George, you haven't had your drink yet. Let's have one." I said, "I have to drive Willow home later, so I'll skip the drink." Dinner didn't take long since Willow had just flown in from overseas and was still adjusting to the time zone. I dropped Willow off at home and returned by 8:30 p.m. Anna had called several more times. I didn't answer any of them. 3 years of knowing each other. 3 years of entanglement. Now that we had chosen to completely part ways, there was no reason to waste any more time on her. I took a shower, grabbed a can of beer from the fridge, and sat on the rattan chair on the balcony. The liquid slid down my throat. I leaned back in the chair, tilting my head back. For the first time in 3 years, I felt the leisure to enjoy the quiet of the night. The next morning, my biological clock woke me up on time. My phone was filled with a series of messages from Anna. They were full of questions, desperate pleas, confessions, and hysterical outbursts. One of the messages read, "George, you left a piece of clothing at my place. Don't you worry that your current girlfriend will think you're still trying to keep a connection with me." I selected this message and replied, "If it's convenient, please throw it away. If not, I'll have my assistant contact you and arrange for a professional organizer to come by." Anna, who had been waiting for my reply all night, nearly threw her phone in frustration upon receiving such an indifferent response. The cup she had thrown the previous night had cut her finger, and it bled quite a bit. She took multiple pictures from different angles and sent me countless voice messages, trying to play the victim and gain sympathy. I knew she had a slight anemia and was prone to fainting at the sight of blood. In the past, I would have panicked and rushed to her side to bandage her up, but this time, I remained unmoved. My nonchalant response simply indicated that I had seen her messages but had no intention of replying. Anna thought to herself, "I'm not dependent on him. There are plenty of people chasing me." In her frustration, she quickly called up Alicia and a few other friends for a night of clubbing and drinking. Makoto naturally came along. Anna, in a bad mood, drank heavily despite her crush being around, trying to flirt with her. Eventually, she drank herself into a stupor. Drunk, she mumbled, "George, you can leave, but never come back. I don't care about you at all." Makoto's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. Alicia, hearing Anna repeatedly calling my name while Makoto was beside her, immediately sensed something was wrong. Had Anna and George really broken up? Alicia said, "Makoto, Anna's just drunk. Don't mind her. I'll take her home." Makoto smiled warmly and replied, "It's not safe for you to take her home alone. What if she throws up? Let me take her back." Alicia hesitated, but by the time she spoke, Makoto had already taken Anna, who was practically a limp puddle of drunkenness, and led her to a taxi waiting outside the bar. The next morning, Anna woke up with a pounding headache and instinctively shouted, "George, where's my honey water?" When she got no response, her voice grew angry, and she yelled, "George, my head hurts. I need honey water." But the next moment, a hoarse male voice came from beside her. The man asked, "What do you want?" Anna's mind went into overdrive. This wasn't George. She turned stiffly. Makoto, bare-chested with disheveled hair, furrowed his brows and sat up, a displeased expression on his face. Anna lowered her head and saw herself naked beneath the covers, her body marked with bruises and scratches. Even though she couldn't remember everything, she knew what had happened, and it had been intense. Though she hadn't been fully conscious or sober when it happened, Anna wasn't a virgin. She had been with Makoto a few times already. She quickly accepted the reality of waking up in Makoto's bed after a night of drinking. Anna adjusted her smile, gently scratching Makoto's solid waist with her nails and saying, "Darling, I want some honey water." Makoto, though impatient, couldn't resist the sight of the beautiful woman naked in his arms. He reluctantly got out of bed, grabbed his pants off the floor, and headed to the kitchen, mumbling to himself, "Can't believe I'm doing this. Makoto had no experience with taking care of others, so when he finally grabbed a glass and filled it with water, his brow furrowed in frustration, losing patience as he handed her the glass. Anna, already irritable, snapped. "I'm having my period, and you're giving me such cold water." Chapter 10. The glass shattered into pieces on the floor, and the sticky honey water spilled everywhere. The carpet wasn't spared either, with wet patches staining the fabric. The sharp sound of breaking glass reached Anna's ears, jolting her back to some semblance of consciousness. If it had been George pouring her the water, he wouldn't have brought her ice-cold water, and before she could lose her temper, he would have gently but firmly held her wrist. He would never have let her smash things around recklessly. "Anna, are you out of your mind?" Makoto stared, dumbfounded, as Anna smashed the cup, unable to believe what he was witnessing. Anna stared back at him, seeing the fury in his eyes. In that moment, she realized that George and she were truly done. He would never again be there to make her honey water when she had a hangover. And more painfully, it became clear that she didn't mean as much to him as she had once imagined. Makoto, completely fed up, lost any desire to return to bed. He stormed over, grabbed the cleaning supplies, and threw them at Anna, snapping. "Clean this up, Anna. Get it together. I'm not your simp of a boyfriend. I won't indulge your spoiled princess temper." Anna, now fully sober, understood that Makoto's words were aimed at George. The mixed emotions of a hangover and sadness turned bitter in her mouth. She looked at Makoto, tears welling up, and said, "I don't have a simp boyfriend." Makoto, eyeing the wrecked room with no intention of soothing her, raised an eyebrow in mockery. "Oh, did George find out about us? He doesn't want you anymore." Anna, still clutching the blanket, looked dazed. The hurt in her eyes seemed genuine. Makoto continued, "Stop sulking. From now on, if you want water at a certain temperature, let me know beforehand." Who knew you had so many princess-like demands? You even care about the temperature of your honey water. Anna, looking at Makoto's frustrated face, opened her mouth as if to speak, but in the end, she said nothing. What she wanted to say was, "George knows." And in that moment, Anna finally understood just how rare and valuable George had been. Forget the fact that George had built a successful tech company from scratch and was on his way to becoming the CEO of a company worth over $1 billion. Anna didn't care about those things. What mattered was that for the 3 years they were together, he had never flirted with another woman, never wavered in his devotion to her. Anna just couldn't let go of him. She hastily grabbed some clothes and threw them on, buttoning them up in a rush, wanting to leave immediately. Makoto noticed her intentions. In one swift motion, he grabbed her and pulled her into his embrace. Anna struggled for a moment. Makoto, sensing the tension, softened his tone. "All right, I know I was out of line. Don't be upset. I'll call the cleaning service to take care of it. I couldn't bear to make you clean it yourself. Come on, there's a new restaurant across from the mall. I hear their breakfast is great. Let's go try it." Anna wanted to refuse, but her hand was firmly held by Makoto. Being a man skilled in sweet words, Makoto looked at her with a burning gaze, his voice hoarse and filled with pleading. "Can you forgive me, baby? Come have breakfast with me. I took care of you all night, and now I'm starving." Anna had no choice but to put on her clothes and go with Makoto to the restaurant. She had no interest in dressing up. She simply brushed her teeth, washed her face quickly, and left the house with no makeup on. Her dress was wrinkled from the hangover, her hair a mess, and her bloodshot eyes gave her a disheveled appearance. To Anna, who always cared about her appearance, stepping out the door like this felt like walking naked. At the restaurant entrance, Anna heard a familiar voice. She turned and saw, in the corner of her vision, a man's back that was too familiar to ignore. It was George, dressed in casual sportswear, still as handsome as ever. But, standing next to him, was a tall, slender woman in similar sportswear, exuding youth and beauty. Anna felt as if everything inside her was about to explode. She gritted her teeth, the sound of her teeth grinding loud in her ears. It was clear to her that, just by showing up together for breakfast in casual clothes, it was hard for anyone to believe that George hadn't spent the night with this woman. Makoto, noticing Anna's fury, was about to ask her what was wrong, but then he noticed George's profile. With a knowing smirk, he said, "Anna, looks like your ex-boyfriend is playing the same game as you." Anna didn't respond. Furious, she rushed up to George and grabbed his arm. I turned to see her, immediately pulling away from her touch, furrowing my brow in displeasure. My expression, filled with irritation, only served to fuel Anna's anger, setting her on fire. Before I could say anything, Anna struck first, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "George, you're something else. We've only been apart for a few days, and already you're cooking for some other woman and spending the night with her. You really are the master of time management, never wasting a moment." In truth, I had simply gone for a morning jog with Willow and was stopping by for breakfast. I was genuinely interested in pursuing a relationship with Willow, but I didn't want to rush things and risk her feeling disrespected. But I didn't owe Anna any explanation. I had always appeared cold, and now, without the old tolerance, my aloof gaze fell on Anna, making her feel like she was throwing a tantrum. Anna was devastated. George was hers. How could he be with another woman? In 3 years, Anna had never seen me be so kind to another woman. Her eyes were filled with accusations, and she blurted out, "George, you're a jerk. You've only been gone a few days, and you're already with another woman. Are men really this disgusting? You can't even keep it in your pants for a few days. What does she have that I don't? Is she better in bed? Does she make you happy?" Chapter 11. It didn't matter to me how Anna insulted or humiliated me, but I couldn't stand seeing Willow suffer due to this nonsense. My eyes clearly showed my anger as I moved to protect Willow, placing myself between her and Anna. I glanced at Anna with impatience and said, "Anna, your actions right now are considered provoking trouble. I have every right to call the police." Anna's impression of me was still frozen in time. Back when we last parted ways, when I had thoughtfully bought a cake and treated our friends to hot pot. When I left, I had gently unbuckled her seatbelt and reminded her to drive safely. All our later communication was through phone calls. Anna never expected that when we met again, I would be this cold. Her usual habit was to scold me, expecting me to console her, but now, I was threatening to call the police. "George, how can you do this to me?" Anna asked incredulously. "What about our 3 years together? Was it all just a game to you?" At this point, I no longer cared about sparing her feelings. I laughed bitterly and replied, "Anna, you're no better." I lazily flicked my eyelids, glancing at Makoto behind her, with an expression that spoke volumes. Anna turned pale and asked, "What do you mean? George, are you really a man? Are you trying to pin this on me?" Makoto chimed in, "You're misunderstanding. Anna and I are just friends. She's an innocent girl. There's no way she'd do anything to hurt you." He looked so innocent, as if he hadn't been the one provoking me with messages just a few days ago. I reminded them, "I've already checked the dashcam footage." Anna suddenly realized what I must have seen, and her face drained of color. Her eyes filled with regret and fear, and she stepped forward, gripping my arm tightly. With a trembling voice, she said, "George, please listen to me. You're mistaken. That was Alicia. I lent my car to Alicia and her boyfriend. I didn't know they would hide in your car and do that. I'm sorry. I already scolded her for it. I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid it would upset you." Anna was still trying her luck. After all, the dashcam could only record audio. It couldn't capture visuals. I almost laughed out loud. Anna really thought she could treat my intelligence like this. At that moment, a restaurant staff member approached and said, "Sir, ma'am, there's a table ready for you." She hesitated, noticing the awkward atmosphere between the four of us. Anna instinctively tried to stop her, but I dodged and smiled at Willow. "Let's go in." I gently guided her forward, not even turning back as we entered the restaurant, leaving Anna stunned behind us. Anna, who thought she understood my character so well, had no idea that I had changed so drastically. The drunken mistake 3 years ago was probably the only time I had ever lost control. I was someone with strict self-discipline and a strong sense of boundaries, even with my closest friends. But Anna had never seen me treat a woman with the care and intimacy I now showed Willow. Anna wasn't the most subtle person, and her shock and hurt were impossible to hide. She slumped, utterly defeated, sitting in the middle of the busy mall, as if her soul had left her body. Makoto, seeing her in such a state, curled his lips in disdain but pretended to be concerned, saying, all right, don't be sad. He's not worth it." Anna, with tears blurring her vision, lifted her head. Her gaze was hollow and desperate as she said, "Makoto, why is he being so heartless? I love him." Makoto thought to himself, "If you loved him, why did you sneak into my bed?" But instead, he softly comforted her. "Anna, I know you're sentimental, but don't worry. You still have me. I've known all along that the kind of man George is doesn't deserve you. It's his loss, not yours. Sure, I may not have what he has, but I love you with a heart even more sincere than his." At that moment, Anna's mind was in turmoil, still reeling from my departure, but Makoto's words only made her head throb in frustration. She frowned and, in a fit of rage, pushed Makoto away, shouting, "Can you just shut up already? You're so annoying. If it weren't for you, George and I wouldn't have broken up." Makoto, angered and afraid he might lose his temper with Anna, turned away without another word and walked off. In the restaurant, Willow and I sat down and ordered our food. I smiled at her apologetically and said, "I'm sorry you had to see that." Willow smiled gently and shook her head. "It's fine. I was just a little surprised." I asked, "Why?" She replied, "I thought, given your personality, that if you broke up, it would be a clean break, a peaceful parting." I let out a helpless laugh and rubbed my forehead a little sheepishly. I said, "You probably saw what happened between us. She cheated. As a man, Dealing with something like this isn't exactly something to be proud of. Seeing my bittersweet smile, Willow, understanding, didn't press further. She simply said, George, it's really nothing. Everyone has some dark history. She's the one who didn't see your worth and made the wrong choice. You're great. You deserve better. I smiled back at her, feeling a sense of relief, and passed her a dumpling. I said, don't worry, there are plenty of beautiful views in the world. I won't let a crooked tree by the roadside stop me from seeing all the other beautiful landscapes. Chapter 12. Anna stumbled out of the mall, in a daze, and took a cab straight to her best friend Alicia's place. When Alicia opened the door and saw her like this, she quickly pulled her inside and made her sit on the sofa, comforting her. What happened, Anna? Who hurt you? Don't cry. What did Makoto do to you? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let him take you away last night. Anna cried uncontrollably, struggling to catch her breath. She replied, it's not because of him. Then what's going on? Tell me. I'll make sure you get justice. Anna just kept crying, not saying a word. Alicia, frantic, paced back and forth around her. Anna, say something. You're killing me here. It took a while before Anna could choke out. I just saw George. Ice. I think I love George more than I love Makoto. I've already fallen for him in these 3 years. Alicia, not thinking much of it, said casually. Isn't that a good thing? You've finally realized what you really want. If your stand-in boy loves you so much, just act a little cute, and you two will get back together, Anna replied. He's not anyone's stand-in anymore. He's the man I love. Alicia nodded in agreement. All right. He's not a stand-in. Now stop crying, Anna sobbed. But what should I do now? It looks like he found out about me and Makoto. He must hate me now. Alicia was shocked. How could this happen? Anna, you've been so careless. Ugh. Playing both sides like that, it's not something everyone can get away with. It's so easy to mess up, Anna continued. George looks at me now like I'm a virus. Like he'll catch something if he comes too close. He just wants to get as far away from me as possible. Anna's heart was breaking, and she sniffled, adding, he even told me that if I kept bothering him, he'd call the police. Alicia, indignant on her behalf, said, how could he be so petty? Even if you can't be friends after a breakup, you don't have to treat someone like a pariah. He's a grown man, and he's got no class. Forget it, Anna. Forcing something that doesn't fit is never good. You're so beautiful. What kind of men can't you have? Why hang on to this one tree when there are so many other trees in the forest? Men. There's always a better one around the corner. Anna finally wiped away her tears and lifted her head. With a cold sneer, she said, I've finally seen through him. I'm deleting his contact right now and cutting ties with him completely. If I ever talk to him again, I'll be a dog. But even as she said these harsh words, Anna's mind was filled with thoughts of George. She remembered him in the kitchen, wearing an apron and cooking. She remembered him sitting on the couch in loose loungewear, working on his laptop. She remembered him waiting outside her office, holding a dessert for her when she finished work. She remembered him carrying her to the bathroom after their intimate moments. Anna had thought that she had waited for Makoto for years, that she had loved him all this time. But when Makoto came back, she realized that her feelings for him were nowhere near as strong as she thought. She didn't even feel the same spark, let alone love. Now, Anna's ideal type had completely morphed into George. Alicia could tell from Anna's reluctance that she wasn't fully convinced by her own words. She said, Anna, you're beautiful, and you come from a good family. Think about it. Who could reject someone like you as a girlfriend? Makoto used to be indifferent to you, but now that he's back, he's fallen all over you, hasn't he? Honestly, if you can't let go of George, why don't you pursue him? If you change some of your stubborn little habits, why wouldn't he fall for you? Anna found the suggestion unreasonable, yet she couldn't help but feel a little tempted. She asked, you want me to chase after him? Of course. When it comes to love, who cares about face? Alicia replied matter-of-factly. You see, my boyfriend and I break up and get back together all the time, and we've both swallowed our pride to fix things. There's nothing wrong with that. Anna was deep in thought. Alicia continued, of course, this is just a suggestion. You're getting along well with Makoto right now, and while he's not as good as George, he's still not bad. Why not just settle down and enjoy being with him? Anna hesitated for a moment, but couldn't stop herself from saying, Alicia, you really can't expect pearls from a pig's mouth. Chapter 13. After parting ways with Anna, I finally had some time to myself over the weekend. I spent the morning working on my personal finances and time management plans for the coming months. Recently, I'd bought a house, and my available funds had sharply decreased, so the financial plan I'd set at the beginning of the year needed to be adjusted accordingly. Once I'd completed my usual tasks, including work, fitness, and travel planning, I was about to close my computer when my hand stopped. After thinking for a moment, I filled in a blank spot on my schedule with a few big words. Romantic time. I thought to myself, If the situation arises, I'm willing to adjust my other plans. David asked me out for a drink. He said, George, now that you're single again, what are your plans? Are you focusing on work, or? I took a sip of my drink and replied, I'm not a saint. I don't have the mindset of working alone for the rest of my life. Now that I've passed my birthday, I'm almost 28. It's definitely time for me to seriously consider a relationship. David asked, how's things with Willow? I replied, above friends, but not quite lovers. At our age, relationships are often about marriage, so we're being cautious. Otherwise, there's no point in even starting. David and I were not only close friends but also business partners, so he didn't beat around the bush. He asked, has Willow been in a relationship while she was abroad? I candidly said, she's been in two. One was with a local guy, and the other was with a Chinese guy who had settled there years ago. She became single again last year. Well, I'm not a blank slate either. At our age, having a past is pretty normal. When we were in school, I only had a crush on Willow, but after spending more time getting to know her recently, I liked her even more. This was the first time I'd met a girl who was gentle, wise, and who, despite always taking the initiative, still gave off an air of modesty. The idea of potentially building a long-term, stable relationship with someone like Willow, someone who made me feel so comfortable, was incredibly relaxing and enjoyable. Since the day I ran into Anna at the restaurant, Willow had been unusually proactive. Her actions were simple but meaningful. She showed up every morning, on time, to bring me a homemade breakfast at the office. Willow had become busy with work since returning to the country. Most of the time, she was in a rush and barely had time for small talk, only ever managing to tell me to eat it while it was hot before hurrying off. David was extremely envious and said, George, you really need to appreciate Willow. She's perfect for you. I've never seen a more compatible couple. You're both elite, top students, and workaholics. She's so busy, yet she takes the time to bring you breakfast. Isn't that better than that princess who used to wait for you to serve her? I frowned, displeased, and replied, don't bring her up. I don't mind you criticizing Anna, but don't compare Willow to anyone else. Although Willow and I hadn't confirmed our romantic relationship yet, I was certain in my heart, I truly admired her, and I knew that Willow felt the same about me. Life is short, time is fleeting, and finding someone who fits so well in every aspect is rare. I was waiting for the right moment to break the ice. Anna, on the other hand, discovered that I had completely blocked her. Her hope of reconciling by acting cute with me had vanished. She had been feeling down, her mood heavy, and she had even lost weight. Anna didn't want to stay in this depressed state any longer. She couldn't reach me and didn't know where I had moved to, so she came to my office to find me. I didn't want any gossip from my colleagues, so I had no choice but to take her into my office. I said, speechless, Anna, I've told you countless times, we're over. Why can't you save some dignity for yourself? Her eyes were red, but she ignored my cold words. She poured out everything she had rehearsed in her mind, saying, George, I love you. I've completely fallen for you. Actually, I had many chances to tell you, but for the sake of my own vanity and pride, I kept lying to myself. I lied to myself, telling myself you were just a stand-in. It felt like that was the only way to maintain control over this relationship. George, because of my self-deception, the misunderstandings between us have only deepened. Can you give me one more chance? I shook my head, my expression unchanged. I said, Anna, you're a woman. I'm trying to leave some room for you. I don't want to be blunt. You know very well what you've done. We have no future together. You've already tainted your place in my life. Anna gripped my clothes tightly, her knuckles turning white, her body trembling uncontrollably. Tears poured out of her eyes like a flood breaking through a dam. She sobbed, Darling, please listen to me. I was wrong. I know I was incredibly foolish, and I was blinded by my emotions. I let him manipulate me into doing something so stupid. I beg you to forgive me. My world is falling apart without you. I promise I'll never make the same mistake again. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. Anna had completely stripped away all her pride, yet I merely glanced at her indifferently before pulling my clothes away from her grip. I checked my watch and, visibly impatient, said, I have a date tonight. I need to get off work now. Do you want to leave on your own? Or should I have security escort you out? Anna couldn't find a trace of disappointment or heartbreak in my eyes, only indifference and apathy. This hurt her deeply. George, are you going to see Willow? These days, she had noticed that my relationship with Willow was clearly more than just friendship. Willow often found time to bring me breakfast, and I often made a special effort to pick her up for dinner, then take her to see a movie or go for a walk before dropping her off at her place. I didn't deny it. Anna, sensing an unprecedented sense of crisis, said, George, you say I'm dirty, but what's so great about Willow? At least I gave you my first time. What about her? Her first time was probably with someone else by now, right? I answered without hesitation. So what? Who she's been with in the past has nothing to do with me. I only know that I like her, and that's enough for me. I then dialed the security office and said, "This is George. Please escort the person in my office out. I need to leave now." Finally, Anna could no longer hold it in and broke into sobs. Chapter 14. When Willow stepped out of the elevator, she overheard two girls talking as they walked towards her. "Who's that handsome guy waiting for?" George did look particularly handsome today. His black trench coat complemented his unique aura. Willow, at 28, once again experienced the fluttering sensation of her heart racing. She jogged a few steps towards him. As she got closer, she noticed something surprising. Today, George was wearing a pair of rimless glasses. They softened his already sharp features, adding a touch of gentleness and elegance. Willow admired him for a moment before her heart bloomed with joy. She said, "You have this rich young master vibe today," I replied. "I thought about seeing you this morning, so I decided to wear them." I casually complimented Willow with sweet words, and she felt her heart draw closer to the man standing before her. Which woman wouldn't be moved by such sweet talk? She said, "George, I really regret not taking that step back in college." Willow could clearly feel her heart beating so fast, she thought it might jump right out of her chest. I said, "It's never too late." A soft smile tugged at the corners of my mouth as I took Willow's hand, and we smiled at each other. The warmth of her hand was still transferring to mine. Suddenly, a figure dashed towards us, accompanied by a gust of wind, rudely separating our hands. "George, how can you move on so quickly?" Anna stood before us, her face filled with anger and jealousy. I frowned and stepped in front of Willow, my expression cold and sharp as I asked, "Anna, are you following me? Do you know what you're doing?" Anna scoffed, sizing up Willow and curling her lips into a mocking smile. She said, "George, what does she have that I don't? Who would want this kind of girl? Only you would treat her like a treasure." I was about to scold her, but Willow stopped me. She said, "Yeah, if you don't want me, do you want her? What is she to you? A fool." "You." Anna was left speechless by Willow's retort. After a long pause, she finally managed to argue. "You think George really loves you? He's just interested in something new. I was with him for 3 years, and I never got him to feel anything for me. What makes you think you can so easily win his heart? George is just a cold-hearted man." I gripped Willow's hand firmly and said with conviction, "Anna, Willow is not just some latecomer. She's the girl I liked back in school. When I met you, I drowned my sorrows in alcohol because I heard she had a boyfriend abroad. I agreed to the stand-in relationship with you because I thought she'd never come back. Anna, it wasn't just you who had a crush on me. Willow was my crush too. What I said before wasn't out of anger, nor was it a lie. I never had feelings for you. You're simply not my type." With that, I took Willow's hand and turned to leave, leaving Anna standing frozen, alone in the same spot. Anna, in a daze, returned to the apartment we once shared, throwing herself onto the bed where we had spent countless sweet moments together. She turned off her phone and cried her heart out. Hours passed, and at 10 p.m., Alicia arrived with Anna's mother. She said, "Anna, why's your phone off? Your mom's been looking for you. She's about to lose her mind." After some frantic questioning, Anna's mother burst into tears and told her, "Your father had an accident. The doctors say he might not make it through the night. I couldn't reach you, so I had to ask Bing Bing to help find you." When they rushed to the hospital, Anna saw her father lying in the bed, covered in tubes, his body completely still. She collapsed beside the bed, crying uncontrollably. That day, she had been hit with so much emotional turmoil. Anna's father, probably aware that his life was slipping away, had one last thing to say. Despite his condition, he managed to speak in a weak voice. "Anna, don't cry." Anna, on her knees, crying without control, asked, "Dad, what's wrong? Don't scare me." "Anna." Her father's voice grew faint. "I didn't tell you this before because I didn't want you to worry, but the company has been in serious trouble for a while now. The bank loans. We've barely made it this far by using the family savings. We're facing a default this month. The family properties have already been mortgaged, and they should cover most of the debts. After all this, I've got nothing left except for a small pension home for your mother. You'll have to rely on yourself from now on. I'm sorry. Take care of your mother. She's all I'm leaving behind." With that, Anna's father passed away. His final words a last attempt to ensure his family was taken care of. Though his heart was filled with regret, he had found peace knowing his wife and daughter would be looked after. As for Anna, having just heard George admit that he had never cared for her, she now had to face the devastating loss of her father and the collapse of her family's fortune. She knelt in the hospital corridor, feeling as though her entire life had fallen apart in an instant. Anna wished with all her heart that this was just a nightmare. She wanted to wake up, to find the world spinning normally again. Her father was alive, her family was wealthy, and she was still the Anna who lay in George's arms, spoiled and loved by him. Chapter 15. After Anna's father unexpectedly passed away, Her family plummeted into despair. The people who had once surrounded Anna, including her drinking buddies, all disappeared. She, too, lost interest in her work at the studio, spending her days in a daze, drifting aimlessly. However, one thing remained unchanged. Every evening, without fail, she would walk around the lobby of my company after work. In truth, she could never actually see me because I would always go straight down to the underground parking lot, never passing through the lobby. But for Anna, this was enough. It seemed she had lost all her courage and could no longer face me. She had heard from mutual friends that my tech company had filed for an IPO. There were still 6 months to go before it would officially list, and soon, I would become the chairman of a public company. Anna bitterly thought to herself, "It seems that without me, George's luck has improved." She continued to console herself in silence, convincing herself that as long as she didn't see it, it meant I hadn't started a new relationship. Until one evening, as I was leaving work, I did something completely unexpected. Instead of heading straight to the parking lot, I walked briskly through the lobby. Anna, who hadn't seen me in almost 2 months, was so excited that she almost rushed toward me, but my gaze never lingered on her, as I immediately grabbed Willow and pulled her into my arms. Kissing her tenderly on the corner of her lips, we walked out, hands tightly intertwined, leaving Anna standing in the corner of the lobby, her heart heavy with sorrow, unsure of how to react. That night, after dropping Willow off at her home and returning to my own, I stepped off the elevator and found an unwelcome visitor waiting for me. It was Anna. I frowned and said, "How did you find this place?" She replied, "I asked the real estate agent we knew when we bought the house. He didn't know we'd broken up, so he gave me the address." I felt a deep sense of annoyance and helplessness toward her. I didn't open the door to let Anna in. Instead, I decided to have this conversation in the hallway. To finally clear things up, she said, "George, I recently checked the mortgage for the house I live in. I always thought it was being deducted directly from my bank account. I didn't realize you've been paying it all along. You even paid off the entire mortgage in one go. Why didn't you mention such a large sum when we broke up? I know you still had feelings for me back then, didn't you? You were just angry at me and said you never loved me, right?" Anna cried, gasping for breath. She said, "George, I'll be fine from now on. I'll work hard, make money, and when I've saved enough to pay you back, we can start over." "Okay," I coldly replied. "No need. Consider that money a compensation for you. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Stay away from me and never show up in front of me again, even if you pay me back." Anna, as though not understanding my rejection, continued to cry hoarsely. "George, I've changed my bad temper. I won't lose my temper anymore. I'll learn to cook, take care of you. I even know how to clean now. Why can't we just start over?" I was growing irritated by Anna's sobbing, but I couldn't just walk away. I took a deep breath and said, "Anna, stop. It's over between us. I won't turn back. You need to learn to move on. One day, you'll meet someone who truly likes you. I promise. You will. I don't want anyone else." Anna screamed, shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. "George, I only want you. I don't want anyone else but you," I replied. "Anna, the version of me you like is one that you've molded into your ideal. I'm not that perfect boyfriend you want. If you want someone who will pamper and take care of you in every way, then go find someone like that. It doesn't have to be me." Anna cried even harder, sobbing uncontrollably. "I didn't think that. I didn't mean that. George, I love you. I want to be with you not because I want you to take care of me, but because I love you, the person that you are." I patiently listened, my expression unchanged, when Anna looked up at me, her face full of expectation, waiting for my response. I said, "Anna, you misunderstood. Anyone can do housework. I didn't get a girlfriend to find a maid." Anna's gaze grew confused. She said, "I know love has to be mutual. I just wanted to care for you the way you once cared for me. George, I'll never lose my temper again. I'll never do anything to hurt you again. Let's go back to the way things were." She finished speaking, and I remained silent for a moment. Anna, still holding on to the hope that I was seriously considering the possibility of us getting back together, looked at me with anticipation, her nervousness growing. I said, "The past." I sneered, spitting out the words. I paused and added, "Our relationship started as a contract. There was never any love between us." Anna's heart seemed to stop, the pain more excruciating than anything she had ever felt. She said, "George, I really do love you, but I woke up too late. I'm sorry." I didn't know what else to say. I had never seen such utter despair on Anna's face. The light in her eyes disappeared, and her once bright gaze turned dark, void of life. Chapter 16. Anna felt like a soulless shell, her steps unsteady as she returned home. When she opened the door, the sight in the living room froze her in place. Makoto was sitting on the couch, a smug smirk playing on his lips. Anna asked in a hoarse, powerless voice, her eyes wide with terror as she stared at him. "How did you get in?" Makoto grinned, clearly enjoying the moment. "Anna, Your security awareness is awful. How could you use your birthday as the password for your front door? His gaze remained fixed on the large television in the living room. Only then did Anna realize that the sound from the stereo system was blasting with something completely unbearable. Her brow furrowed in disgust as she spat. Makoto, are you a freak? Why are you watching this trash in my house? But when she turned to look at the TV, her face drained of color. The screen was indeed showing one of those films, but the woman in it, barely dressed and with a dazed expression, was her. Her teeth clenched as she asked, "When did you film this?" Makoto, still playing with his phone and casting the video onto the TV, said with obvious pride. "That time you got drunk at my place. I filmed you in my bed. How was it? Pretty exciting, right? Look at you. I really made you happy, didn't I?" Anna lunged at Makoto, hands reaching desperately for his phone. "Give me the video. Delete it," she screamed, her voice twisted by anger and despair, her eyes bloodshot, nearly breaking down. In that moment, she was no longer the graceful, elegant woman she once was, but a hysterical mess, driven by a single thought: destroy the video. Makoto effortlessly dodged her, a sneer curling on his lips. He held the phone higher, leisurely speaking. "Delete? You can't delete it all. I've backed up so many copies of this video. I'm planning to enjoy them slowly. If you don't listen to me, these backups will be like ticking time bombs, ready to explode at any moment when you least expect it." Anna collapsed to the floor, her body shaking violently. She asked in a trembling voice, "What do you want?" Makoto's face wore a disgusting expression of self-satisfaction, a twisted smirk pulling at his lips as he enjoyed every second of her breakdown. He moved the phone in front of her face, savoring her agony as though it was a well-rehearsed play. "I was planning to woo you, to win you over and enjoy the benefits of your family's wealth. But what a pity. You're just so unlucky. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. The time and energy I've invested in you, the emotional value I've given you, it can't go to waste." Anna interrupted him. "Makoto, what the hell do you want?" Her face was filled with despair. Makoto chuckled. "My demands aren't high, 5 million. His voice now openly dripped with vile greed. Anna shouted. "Are you insane? Where am I supposed to get that much money?" It wasn't a lie, she had once spent recklessly, assuming her family's wealth would always support her. Now, with everything gone, her jewelry and artwork sold off to fill the financial gaps, there was no longer any money left. Makoto shrugged. "Don't joke with me, Anna. The skinny camel is still bigger than the horse. 5 million is just pocket change for you." As he spoke, he casually tapped the edge of his phone, flaunting his control over the situation. Anna lashed out in fury. "You scumbag." Looking at Makoto's vile face, she bitterly regretted ever seeing him as a potential crush. Makoto laughed. "Call me whatever you want, but I warn you, this is just the beginning. If you don't obey me, tomorrow these videos will show up on every major website and in the inboxes of your friends and family. Let them see what their perfect goddess looks like in bed. You wouldn't want to experience social death, would you?" He pulled out his phone, tapping on it a few times. The screen displayed a mass of folders, all marked with backups. "See this? These are all backups, stored in different places. With a single touch, you're done. Of course, your reputation will be ruined for good." His voice was as cold as a serpent's, each word a venomous strike that sent chills down her spine. Anna's eyes were filled with terror and despair. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. Tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. Makoto saw the agony in her expression and felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. He reveled in the process of crushing her spirit, piece by piece. Chapter 17. In order to scrape together the enormous sum Makoto demanded, Anna gritted her teeth and sold the house that held countless memories between her and me. She thought she could finally escape the nightmare, but just a month later, Makoto appeared again. "Anna, give me some more money. I recently went to Macau, and my luck wasn't great." His face wore that familiar, loathsome, smug grin as he slowly pulled out his phone from his pocket and began playing the video, waving it gently in front of her. Anna ground her teeth and snapped. "Dream on." She was on the verge of losing her mind. "You promised me that you'd delete everything if I gave you 5 million. Makoto chuckled. "Silly girl, how could you be so naive to believe a man's words? You're despicable." Anna angrily raised her hand, but Makoto quickly seized it. Coldly, he said, "Anna, don't push it. I'm not George. I don't have that much patience. You think I'd delete the video just like that? This is my trump card to control you." "What? You thought selling your house would end it? I told you. It's not that simple. I've still got plenty of backups." Anna's tears streamed as she knelt in front of Makoto, pleading. "Makoto, please, for the sake of all the years we've known each other, just let me go. You know I've lost everything. Where would I get more money for you?" Makoto coldly kicked her aside and sneered. "You don't have it. You can ask your ex-boyfriend. I heard George's company went public. He's now a billionaire. Paying a little hush money to an ex-girlfriend should be nothing to him, right?" "No." Anna shook her head wildly, her lips trembling as she tried to speak, but only broken sobs escaped. She could never let George see that video of her. Anger, helplessness, and despair surged inside her, bursting out as tears, but Makoto just stood by, coldly observing her breakdown. Anna tried to seek help from former friends, but those so-called best friends either ignored her or had no real power in their family businesses and couldn't come up with that kind of money. With no other choice, she turned to me. Back in my office, Anna nervously twisted the hem of her clothes. She said, "George, I really had no other option but to come to you. Please help me." I sat in my office chair, legs crossed, my eyes cold as they scanned her. A mocking curve tugged at the corner of my lips as I replied, "Anna, I've told you countless times, we don't have any relationship anymore. Please stop bothering me." Anna's face immediately flushed red, her eyes welling with tears, but she persisted, begging. "I know I was wrong before, but this time I really have no other choice." I stared at her expressionlessly, my sitting posture somehow still exuding an oppressive sense of superiority. I asked, "I don't lack money right now, but why should I help you? With your current state, what could you possibly offer me in return?" Anna misunderstood. She knelt at my feet, slowly removing her clothes, casting sultry glances as she did. I remained seated, arms crossed, my expression calm and detached, not even flinching at her actions. Anna bit her lip, reaching out to grab my hand, pulling it toward her chest. She couldn't believe that even though she was exposing herself at my feet, I remained unmoved. She said, "George, I know you like my body." I pulled my hand away and stood up, my expression devoid of any desire, even a faint, almost invisible, smirk on my lips, as if I were watching a tedious performance. I walked past her without a second glance, heading for the door, and coldly mocked, "Stop wasting your time. Women like you, don't even think about selling yourself to me. Even if you offered yourself for free, I'd still consider you filthy." The sound of the door slamming shut echoed sharply in the silence. Anna remained frozen in place, humiliated, tears flooding from her eyes. She knew that in my presence, her dignity had shattered into pieces. A few days later, another unexpected visitor came to my office. It was Makoto, who had yet to receive the money Anna promised. He knew that I was no longer the same person and felt a bit nervous, but with the debt pressing on him, he had no choice but to resort to this method. "Wong, you should recognize the person in the video, right?" Makoto spoke, forcing some confidence into his tone, though his greed was still evident. I glanced at the video on his phone. My expression didn't change. I said, "I do recognize her." Makoto laughed. "People in the circle know that you and Anna were together for 3 years. You wouldn't want your ex-girlfriend's dirty laundry to cause a scandal, would you?" My eyes turned icy, colder than frost. Just that one glance sent a shiver down Makoto's spine. I picked up the phone and looked at the video again. A cold sneer curled on my lips. I asked, "Are you planning to blackmail me with this video? With my current power in this city, there's no one who can extort a penny from me." Beads of sweat broke out on Makoto's forehead, and his legs wobbled, but he stubbornly continued, "George, don't play tough. Don't you care about Anna? Aren't you afraid that I'll ruin her reputation?" I stood up, my form towering over him, and with disdain in my voice, I said, "You're welcome to try, but before you do, think about whether you can handle the consequences. I have plenty of ways to make sure you can never stay in this city again. Go ahead and test me." Chapter 18. Makoto's face turned pale in an instant, his lips trembling slightly, yet he still tried to keep calm as he said, "Don't you fear that I'll send the video to the media? Then everyone will know you've been cuckolded. The stock price will plummet, and we'll see how you handle it." I sneered, my eyes filled with mockery, as though I were watching a tiny, insignificant ant making its last struggle. I sat back down in my chair, casually resting my hands on the armrests. My tone was cold as I replied, "Go ahead. The video doesn't even show me. Let's see if your photos spread faster, or if I can ruin you faster. I've made my mark in the business world, and I could easily crush a small-time character like you." A wave of panic struck Makoto. His palms were sweating, and the video in his phone felt like a hot potato in his hand. He swallowed hard and said, "Give me some money, and I promise I'll never show up in front of you again." I chuckled coldly, my eyes filled with disdain as I replied, "You're trying to threaten me. You think you're worthy. Your video. Go find the person who made it. If I throw money in the water and listen to the sound, it wouldn't be wasted on someone like you. Get out of my sight now, before I change my mind. Otherwise, I guarantee you'll regret stepping into this door today." Makoto wanted to say more, but when his eyes met the deep, cold gaze I gave him, the words caught in his throat. It turned out that the saying was true: money and power could change a person's aura. Makoto, feeling increasingly uneasy, grabbed his phone and fled in a hurry, barely able to keep his composure. I didn't take the incident too seriously. That evening, while having dinner with Willow, I casually mentioned it. Willow paused for a moment before saying, George, since Makoto filmed it, there are probably backups of those photos and videos in his computer, cloud storage, and maybe even his online drives. You're so familiar with hacking firewalls. You know what they say. A gentleman never stands under a dangerous wall. I smiled and said, Willow, what are you trying to say? Willow blushed slightly and said, George, I just think that while Anna deserves some of the blame, you've known each other for 3 years. Whatever mistakes she made, using such a video to threaten her is just disgusting. I laughed harder, affectionately ruffling Willow's hair and teasing. I didn't know my Willow had a heart of gold. Willow pouted and pushed me playfully, saying, Ugh, you're so annoying. Anyway, we can't let Makoto keep those photos. They all need to be deleted. In my study, I sat in front of my computer, staring at a black coding screen, with a few strings of code inputted. I hit enter. Half an hour later, the computer displayed all the photos and videos Makoto had secretly taken of Anna. I traced the paths of these photos and videos and wiped all traces of them clean. I knew that even if these videos were to be released, they wouldn't affect me or my career in any way. As for Anna, I couldn't care less. The only reason I spent half an hour hacking the firewall was because Willow looked so adorably serious when she said she didn't like this kind of behavior. After being threatened by me, Makoto became increasingly dissatisfied. He decided to release the video to the public, forcing George and Anna into a showdown. But when he opened his computer, his face turned white. With a crisp click of the mouse, his shock was uncontainable. All the photos and videos related to Anna were gone. Makoto wasn't a fool. After a moment of thought, he quickly realized who had the ability to invade his phone, computer, cloud storage, and online drives. At this moment, he wasn't just panicked and furious because his videos had been deleted. He was more worried about what other compromising materials on his computer might be revealed to the tech experts. You see, years ago, he had a special preference while abroad. He wasn't picky about gender, indulging in all sorts of things. Although this might be a matter of personal preference, it could be catastrophic if exposed to the public. The thought that his most intimate secrets had been seen by George made him tremble with fear. Makoto now deeply regretted his decision. Why did he have to provoke George of all people? But it was too late to undo the damage. Time couldn't be reversed. Makoto had no choice but to go find Anna. This time, he didn't understand what kind of relationship Anna and George currently had, so he awkwardly began with an apology. Anna, what I did before wasn't right. We've been through a lot together. Can we? Anna was bewildered by the sudden change in Makoto's attitude. Makoto continued. I'm sorry, Anna. I didn't know George felt that strongly for you. Could you please just let him go and spare me? Makoto didn't finish his sentence, but Anna quickly understood everything. She didn't need to ask if George had done something. She knew for certain it was George who had forced Makoto to apologize and beg. The thing Anna feared most had happened. She felt as if a jolt of electricity had run through her body. Her face turning ashen, she asked, Makoto, what do you mean? Did you show George the video? Is that what happened? Hearing her sharp, trembling voice, Makoto lowered his head slightly, avoiding her piercing gaze. He mumbled, if you wouldn't give me the money, I had no choice. I had to go to him for it. Anna, hysterical, shouted. Are you insane? She lunged forward, grabbing Makoto's collar tightly. Her body trembled with fury as she bit her lip, saying, how could you let him see that video? George was already ignoring me. Now you've ruined everything. Makoto shrugged her off and said, I was desperate. I'm drowning in debt, and they forced me to do it. You should thank me. I just helped you test George's true feelings. Anna asked. What do you mean? Makoto replied. George helping you warn me means he still cares about you. I understand men better than you do. If he didn't care, he wouldn't have lifted a finger. He'd actually be hoping the video got exposed so you'd be socially destroyed. Chapter 19. Makoto's words sparked a glimmer of hope deep inside Anna. With unsteady steps, she made her way to my office. Her mind flooded with sweet memories from the past. The tender glances, the affectionate words, these things made her believe even more firmly that George had always been angry with her out of love. His deep feelings had led him to such resentment. The moment she saw me, Anna's eyes sparkled with light. Just as she was about to speak, I coldly stared at her, a slight curve of impatience appearing at the corner of my lips. I said, I'm helping you. This has nothing to do with you. It's my girlfriend who can't stand Makoto's disgusting behavior. Anna froze, her face flushing bright red in embarrassment. Wishing she could disappear into a bottomless hole, I added, Anna, I never thought you'd have the nerve to come to me. Have you lost all sense of shame? Saying this, I tossed a USB drive hard at her face. It contained the explicit video Makoto had filmed. I said, take a good look at yourself, and don't think about pestering me again. Otherwise, I have the ability to retrieve the video from Makoto and release it again. You can try me if you don't believe me. My voice was as cold as ice, cutting through Anna's heart. she realized that I truly didn't love her, and that any kindness I might have once shown had now disappeared. Anna covered her face in shame, tears uncontrollably streaming down her cheeks. This time, I didn't have to chase her away. She left my office, lost and broken, without a word. Her eyes were vacant as she walked down the street, the world around her growing blurry. Every step felt like she was exhausting her last ounce of strength. The once vibrant heart inside her was now drained of all vitality. Unknowingly, Anna found herself standing by the riverbank, staring at the cold waters. A sense of emptiness filled her as memories from the past flashed by like a revolving lantern. But nothing could rekindle her attachment to life. In a low whisper, she murmured, "George, I'm sorry, I really do love you." And slowly, she began walking toward the water. As the river water rose around her body, her world sank into darkness. Chapter 20. Makoto, once arrogant and domineering, had long since lost all his bravado. Drowning in debt, he now hid in the dark corners of the city, unable to even afford food. His body had withered to nothing but skin and bones. His hair tangled messily, emitting a foul stench that repulsed everyone around him. At last, his creditors tracked him down. After beating him to a pulp, they dumped him in the black market, where he was forced to perform as a clown for wealthy individuals with peculiar fetishes. Whenever he disobeyed, he was beaten mercilessly, blood streaming from his wounds, and several of his teeth were knocked out. Eventually, Makoto, covered in bruises and scars, was abandoned in a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of town. On the verge of death, he could only hear the scurrying of rats around him, nibbling at his body. He tried to cry out, but his throat, now without a tongue, could only produce weak, inhuman sounds. In his agony and despair, he slowly closed his eyes, ending his life, and his body, left in this forsaken place, would slowly decay, turning into a pile of bones forgotten by the world. Years later, on the shaded campus path, sunlight filtered through the trees, casting patches of light on the ground as it had so many years ago. I strolled hand in hand with my wife, the girl who had made my heart flutter back when we were in college. We occasionally stopped to point out certain buildings, reminiscing about the memories we'd created there. That was the classroom where we first met. That was the corner of the library where I secretly watched her from behind. And that was the sports field, where she was so nervous she could barely speak while watching me play basketball. Time seemed to overlap in that moment. As the innocence of the past and the happiness of the present merged together, our fingers were tightly intertwined as we walked slowly, whispering about the little things of the day and our hopes for the future. We walked until the stars began to shine and the moonlight gently bathed us in its soft glow.